But there's more going on in the NBA besides the finals, and some of it happened today with the Lakers introducing their new head coach. That would be Darvin Ham, rookie head coach, former player. I covered him. Rob covered him when he was in the league.
Yep.
Won a championship as a reserve player. He was a reserve
in 2004 with
career.
The Pistons. Yep.
Yeah, won it in 2004 with Detroit. Has been coaching now in several places. Was with the Lakers for a few years under Mike Brown, I believe. And but recently has been with Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta and in Milwaukee. So he's coached Giannis, he's coached stars, and he's won a championship. So I think overall, Rob, it's a good hire. I think most people feel that way. The biggest question was maybe answered today because Russell Westbrook was at the press conference. And Darvin Ham, I believe we have sound of it, was asked if Westbrook is going to be a part of the Lakers' future going forward, at least for this upcoming season. And here's what Darvin said.
Don't get it messed up. Russ is one of the best players our league has ever seen. And there's still a ton left in that tank. I don't know why people tend to try to write him off. I'm going to approach him like I do every player I've ever encountered. Russ and I have had some really, really great one-on-one convos, man. And the biggest word I think came out of those discussions were sacrifice. We're going to sacrifice whatever we got to do. And it's not just Russ. There's going to be sacrifices that LeBron has to make, that AD has to make, on down the line through the rest of our roster.
It sounds great, Rob, but what are your thoughts?
I'm leery, Chris, and I'm worried. I got to admit, I love the Darvin Ham hire. I think the Lakers made the right thing, but he's hitching his wagon to something that just doesn't work. It's like a ham sandwich. Instead of having lettuce on it, somebody put cabbage on it. It doesn't taste right.
I got a feeling we're gonna hear that on Thursday night. But
Chris, but you get my point. It doesn't work. Darvin, don't buy into it. Don't hitch your wagon to this. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that Westbrook can't play in the league and there's not a place for him. Did they watch last year, Chris? I'm sorry. Frank Vogel won a championship and couldn't do anything. Abner Doubleday couldn't get this to work. I didn't mean Abner Doubleday.
Well, Rob, they were 11-10 when their big three played together. That'd be AD, LeBron, and Westbrook. Obviously not a huge sample size, but not a tiny one either. And then they were 20-32 when it was Russ and one of the other two stars, either LeBron or AD. Look, I'm with you. I mean, neither of us. Heck, we weren't, prophets. I mean, almost everybody looked at this and thought it wouldn't work. I thought there were very specific things that you had to try if it were going to have a chance of working. They didn't do those things. Look, it seems to me, Rob, you're right. I mean, he was there. Now, granted, even if they were trying to trade him, if he was like, hey, I want to come, they're not going to tell him don't come. So he was there, but that seems to make you think he's a part of it. Obviously, Darvin spoke glowingly of him and the possibilities. I don't know, Rob, if this is the front office thinking, hey, it's going to be hard to move him. In fact, I don't think we're going to be able to move him. So, look, he's only got 1 year left. It's not like he's on the books for 2 or 3 more years. Maybe we just give it a shot rather than take on – because, Rob, I think as much as they don't want to give up the first-round pick in 2027 or maybe that one and 2029, whatever it would take to unload him, Rob, I think more than anything, they don't want to take on bad contracts.
No,
they don't want to, you know what I mean? Teams are going to just, look, we know you're desperate to get rid of Russ. Take this mediocre player or whatever for 3 years who's making, $18 million a year for the next 3 years. Like, I don't think they want contracts like that. And so I think they may, none of us really know if this is a smokescreen. to try to up his market value or if they're really going this route. But if they are, I think they may just be saying, look, he's only on for one more year. Let's see if we can make it work. The one thing I'll say is this, and I'm not buying in either, as you aren't, but I do think he'll at least respect Darvin. And you might think, well, heck, Vogel won a title. He should have respected him. Yeah, but you know how it is. Sometimes players just don't respect somebody. And the stories came out after the season that Westbrook and Vogel never hit it off. So maybe if he really likes Darvin, will listen to him, respects him, maybe he will be willing to do some of the things that are necessary. Go ahead, because I got one thing I want to say. I'll say it now if you want.
Yeah.
Or you can go if you got something
go ahead.
to add.
I mean, I just, Chris, I hear you, and I think it's just a bad situation for them to do the same thing and think they're going to get a different result. And I'm not saying that maybe they'll win more games or a few more games. They can't go 3 months without winning back-to-back games, something like that. But this just doesn't look like it worked. Nobody thought it would work from day one. Why would year two would it work? Think about that. Day one, nobody thought it would work. But you think year two it's going to work? That doesn't make sense.
Right, because there's some real issue. It's not just, oh, Russ is older. Oh, Russ is a superstar and won't accept a lesser role. I mean, that's some of it. But it's also this, Rob. This is a different NBA. Russ is not a shooter, obviously. LeBron's a okay shooter. I mean, with range. AD's not a very good shooter from three-point range. So when you have those three on the floor, your chances of spacing the floor aren't good, number one. None of those three, the AD is obviously a great defender. The other two aren't. LeBron at his age isn't. And Westbrook's never been. And I was going to say, Rob, the thing I had to say is that Darvin said, I saw him, he was interviewed on NBA Today. I don't know if he said it at the press conference, but he certainly said it in his interview with NBA Today on ESPN. He said one of the things he's talked with Russ about is defending, being a tenacious defender. And he actually said getting back to being that. And the thing is, Russ has never been a great defender. And Rob, that scares me too, because it's one thing to say that. I don't think at his age, he's capable of being like a great defender, and he's never been one. I mean, I think he can do it in spurts. He certainly has the strength and the athleticism and the heart, but he's never been a good defender. I mean, you can, but that scared me because I'm like, wait, that's what you're resting your hat on? That he's going to become a great defender? And so I'm with you. We all want Darvin to have a legitimate shot.
I like the hire, Chris. I think it's a good hire. I'm happy for Darvin. The Lakers did the right thing, but I don't like that Darvin is hitching his wagon here, Chris, because if it doesn't work, are you going to blame Darvin that he couldn't make this happen?
Because clearly Vogel was a scapegoat.
Right.
So who you blaming? They're not going to blame themselves.
They're not right. They're not going to say, "Oh well, they got the coach has the talent. He has to be able to work with it." It didn't work. That's the scary part. And he's a first-time head coach. They get off to a bad start. What's going to happen?
Well, look, they're obviously. I mean, I don't see any way they fire him next season.
No, I'm not saying that.
So let's say they get off to a bad start. I think worst case scenario is they get off to a bad start. They keep Westbrook. They get off to a bad start. Looks a lot like it did last year, and they're losing. The problem, Rob, on the one hand, you might say, hey, he's gone in a year. You suck it up. He's gone next year, and then you start all over, the following year. The problem is some of the shine will have come off of Darvin Ham.
Right. And
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like the players, the fan, everybody, right now, everybody's in love with him. If you have a everybody was in love with David Fisdale at one point.
Yep.
Everybody was in love with Derek Fisher in New York at one point. The shine wears off, and when we talk about shine, Rob, We're talking about the players buying in. Now they may think you just another average coach who don't,
Right.
really doesn't move the needle. And that could be the problem.
And here's the other part. If I'm a Laker fan, I'm sick. Sick from this standpoint, Chris. This is year 20 for LeBron. You don't have a year to throw away. You don't. You don't have to see if maybe it works. No, that's the damage and the bad part. If you're a Laker fan, you got to be like, man, we saw this. This doesn't work. We're gonna scrap another season with LeBron, year 20. I think it's a mistake.
Rob, I think what they have to do, which is most important, best for the franchise and best for Darvin Ham, although that's secondary to what's best for the franchise. I think if he's going to be there, Russ, give it a legit shot. Whatever Darvin's got planned for him, I don't know if it's coming off the bench. Is it, just a different role? Don't shoot many threes, get down by the baseline, whatever it might be. If it's not working after a month or so, and if he maybe it's not working because Russ doesn't buy in, whatever the reason, they have to let him go. You can't, not Darvin, but Russ, you can't let another season be wasted because Russ doesn't fit or Russ isn't buying in or has a bad attitude or whatever it is. You can't. Because as you said it's LeBron's 20th year. At some point, LeBron's going to fall off. At some point. It might be next year for all we know. But you can't let it waste the season, a chance to make the playoffs, and you can't let it ruin Darvin Ham, your new coach who you signed reportedly for the next 4 years. So I think, Rob, that has to be a part of their discussions. Like, look, if it doesn't work out, we'll just release him.
Right. No, that might be the case. I
don't know that the reports are that they won't release him, but that to me that's practical. You need to do that if it comes to that.
Yeah, I think at some point they might have to, Chris. But the thing that is crazy is just the notion that I get it. You want to maybe sell it to people, try to move them, but this notion of like, no, we're not going to take anybody's bad contract or we're not going to give up any first round picks and we're going to bring the same squad back with Anthony Davis's health, LeBron getting older, and then Westbrook, who obviously was disenchanted with what went on last year. I just don't know how you're going to feel good with a rookie coach. I got reservations.
Well, and beyond that, Rob, whatever happens with Westbrook, they've got to bring in young athletes because they couldn't defend worth a lick with those old guys. And the floor being spread the way it is. I mean, can you imagine them trying to guard Golden State? Trying to guard Memphis?
Right.
Some of these young Golden State's not that young, but they move all over the place. And so that's who you're talking about being able to beat in the Western Conference. And so I just think that, that has to be a part of it. But they got to get some young athletes that can defend, at least have the athleticism to defend, and then some guys that can shoot the three. Even if you keep Westbrook, you got to have two other shooters on the floor with him and LeBron and AD, and you need to have some athletes that can defend. So they've got their work cut out for him. We both it seems like most of the league feels good about Darvin. You know him, Rob. Great guy. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's strong. He ain't going to take no mess, but he's a genuinely nice guy. Easy to talk to and all that. So you hope it works, but I feel you, Rob. It looks like he could be stepping into a bad situation.